I see you. I'm just trying to figure out my microphone. I feel like I never figured this microphone out.
I remember there was a episode where you were explaining that your husband told you were using it wrong the whole time or something.
Yeah, no, Darla Powell. She was like, that's not how you're supposed to use it. You're supposed to use it this way. And then my husband did research because he bought the mic.
Yeah.
Because initially we were supposed to do a podcast together.
Yeah.
And then like that never happened. And I was like, screw you. I'm going to go and do my own podcast. I'm going to take action and actually, make things happen. Hey, I see you, Yazyth.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I know sometimes with Zoom, I have to put my earphones in, and sometimes I don't. It's super weird. I don't know if it's the computer or.
Sometimes, I'm trying to think for a second. If you have your earphones in, it helps with feedback and echoing, but I don't actually know if that's true. But you sound fine. Okay. I can hear you. Well, first of all, thank you so much, ladies, for hopping on. It's kind of last minute. I appreciate that. I'm really excited to have you back. And okay, so hold on a second. What episode do you remember, Yazyth? I'm going to pull this up. Which episode you were on? So I want to mention it. Hold on here in our recording. 125, building the courage to start your own business. Okay, so I'll make sure that I call that one out. And Ariella, is this your first time on the podcast? That doesn't seem right. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, it's my first time.
My goodness. Okay, well, I'm very excited. Maybe because I'm so used to seeing your face, I just assumed you'd been on the podcast. This is awesome. So honestly, it's just a round table. I'm really excited to have a casual conversation with you guys. You guys are naturals anyways. Especially just to talk about specifically how being in community or, designers room in general, like the learnings and that continuing education, how that has helped your business. As you know, we're opening it up to the industry at large. And I actually just had a great interview with Amanda. She just finished POP. She's in designers room. She's New England Home and Interiors in New Hampshire. Super savvy businesswoman. She's been in the corporate world for 30 years and just started her design business. And of course has so much life experience that she's just like, shoom. And she's in designers room and she talks about how it's like continuing education. It's like any professional, you want to continually be upping your practices and connecting with others in your industry. But whatever it is to you, and obviously let's share some experiences, maybe some specifics of, what was your business like when you first kind of maybe found the podcast even, right? Just kind of have that. I love when someone can be on the podcast, and I mean, Yazyth, you've already done this, but to inspire other designers to see themselves in you and say, okay, it's possible, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you bring in big names or celebrities, I'm interviewing Luann Nigara today, guys. I'm a little nervous. But people, you see someone who's so far along in their journey that it almost feels like, yeah, that's great, good for them. Yeah. But when there's someone who's just a little bit ahead, and has seen massive change in a short period of time, which I think both of you have, it's really inspirational.
Mm-hmm. So I want to say something, Rebecca. I felt like a celebrity a couple weeks back. I was at an IDS event and I was signing in, and the girl taking my name, she's like, "Oh my God, you're Yazyth Norelius from One of a Kind Interior Design. You're on Rebecca's podcast." And I'm like, "Oh, yes." She's like, "Oh my God, I binge heard all her podcasts just on my drive." I guess she was driving to New York from Colorado and she heard all of your. So I told her, I'm like, "Well, now you got to take pop."
Obviously. Oh my God, that's amazing. Local celeb. Look at you. That's awesome. I love that.
5 minutes of fame there.
I was at an event. I'm actually part of a local group. There's a design firm called Luxe Decor and they started what's called the affiliate Luxe affiliate, where they have a yearly fee that you pay, and there are monthly lunch and learns and all these different things that they plan. We have a closed Facebook group. It's a community in Montreal, and I kind of hesitated jumping on. They also have like they have the rights to a lot of, like they have their own showroom that's to the trade. So we get access to that. We get access to two people who are basically the Lux affiliate sort of like liaisons that help us source things and get pricing, and we get like a nice commission on. Anyway, so yesterday I was at their Christmas party, and I was just talking. We're talking about business, and you know, I always refer to you as my mentor because you really are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I was like, and she's like, oh, you talk about her all the time. Like, what's her name again? And I'm like, Rebecca. And she's like, oh yeah, of course I know her. Like everyone who's in the industry,
Aww.
like knows your podcast, knows you. So I was telling her, you got to do the room totals, like stop itemizing. She's like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, that means so much to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Without further ado, let's just dive right in. So I'll just get you guys, I'll say like, hello, welcome, and just like give a quick introduction, and we'll just kind of dive in. Ready? I'm going to clap for my editor. All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Okay, I'm so freaking excited because today I have two incredible poppers and designers room members and just all around awesome people and talented designers. Ariella and Yazyth, welcome to the podcast. And I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. You guys will know Yazyth. She was on episode 125 of the podcast. So definitely after today's listen, go back and check out Yazyth's business transformation in episode 125. It's a really good one. And Ariella, it's your first time on the pod. So maybe you should go first. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Ariella Arazi. My company is Arazi Design Studio. I'm based in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I primarily work on residential projects, and my specialty is full service.
Awesome. And Yazyth?
I'm Yazyth Norelius, and my company's name is One of a Kind Interior Design. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado, and I'm full service as well.
And okay, so why don't can you each of you share how long ago did you join Power of Process? Do you remember?
It feels like 10 years ago.
In a good way, right?
I feel like I've been in this community, but I know I want to say 2021 is when I did pop the first time, I think.
So I started November 2020, I think. When was your first course, Rebecca?
That was my first one.
Was I the first?
You're like an OG.
Yeah, I was the first, and then you introduced Designer's Room to us for your 40th birthday. You're like,
That's right.
Yeah. So I was the first. I really didn't know I was the first because I think I got confused with your other course that you had before that people had taken.
Momentum.
Yeah, but Pop was brand new. Yeah.
OMG. I love that. You are an OG. You were right. I launched Designer's Room just to our students at the time on my 40th birthday, which was in 2021. And it's so funny because I don't know what it is about my birthday, but maybe because it's in January, it's like a beginning of a new year. And for those who are curious, my birthday is January 19th. But that is when I announced this year on my 43rd birthday, I announced Designer's Room to the industry at large. So I've opened it up to the industry. So funny that it was literally like 3 years to the day. Woo! All right. Well, this is really good. And also, Yazyth, not to downplay, Yazyth's been here for a while too.
I'm like in that limbo stage where I still feel like a newbie, and then sometimes I feel like I've been here a long time. So it's a transitional stage.
Yeah. And I think I'm really excited to talk to you guys today just because, it has been 2, 3, 4 years of you guys really investing in yourselves and your business and really starting to make waves and see results. And I'm just excited to talk about what were those things that you did and how did you implement them, and how can others listening today kind of do the same thing to get the results that you're having to grow their business. I think especially now we're in a weird time in the world. The economy is going to start picking up. We're starting to see those, leading indicators, but and so I think people are just a bit more hungry for, okay, what's the first thing I can do? What's the next thing I can do? And I want us to share a little bit about obviously the community of Designers Room, which has been a really amazing thing, because I've gotten to know both of you like on a personal level, even though we've still never met in person. But I'm going to change that, changing that soon. So I guess my first question would be, where were you before you took Power of Process, before you joined Designers Room? Like, what did your business look like?
Well, for me, I just sort of took most jobs that came to me. I didn't have a process. I was sort of like, I would just do the work and on to the next thing. I didn't have the vision. I didn't see the big picture. I just, I wanted to get there. I had like hopes and dreams for myself, for my business, like economically and all of that. And I don't know, like, I don't, like, when I started taking your course, I couldn't believe that I had been doing this on my own this whole time without this kind of guidance. So like, first off, like if anybody's starting out, like I highly, highly recommend POP, because it just gives you the time to focus and review and really sort of figure out what you want for your business. And when you go out on your own and you need to make money and you need to provide for yourself, you're kind of like jumping in and you don't have the time to think about it. So if you have that luxury of taking that time before you dive in, I highly recommend it.
How many years were you in business before you decided to take Power of Process?
Okay, it's very bad. Okay, I think I was on my own since maybe 2010, 2011-ish. And then I, in that span of that time before I took POP, I got married, I had 2 kids. So there's a lot of starting and stopping. But it was actually the pandemic, and the pandemic was obviously, it was really very difficult for our industry. And when I kept getting these like ads for your like meetup group. So I joined one of those Zooms and I really liked it. And then I saw this course and I'm like, I got to do it. Like, I'm so quiet. I don't have work right now. I really need to invest in myself, and I'm so glad I did, because I was actually very isolated at the time. And so I felt like I had a community, and it wasn't just my kids and my husband that I was seeing every day. I got to, I think we had calls like once a week, I think.
In where? In Power
like
Process?
On POP, when I started POP.
Oh yeah. Once a week. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it was just during that time, it was like therapy. It was therapy. It was good for my business. And we all just really helped each other and give each other the confidence to like ask for more, to charge more, to take, to eventually like not take on projects that were not like our ideal client, our ideal project. That was big, believing in ourselves that like there is going to be that project around the corner that's going to be better, and don't bog yourself down with the 5 little projects that are driving you nuts, So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, hearing you say that brings me back to a core memory that I have of you. And I don't know if this, don't worry, this is okay. I can share this, but it is, I don't know when exactly it was, whether it was in a meetup group and then maybe at the beginning of Power Process. I think even into like the first little bit in Designers Room, you said, in my city, which is Montreal, designers don't charge for consultations. I cannot charge for consultations. And I remember you saying that. And I remember having some self-doubt myself as the coach. I'm like, oh, well, maybe this doesn't apply everywhere. Like, it could be different. Like every city's a little bit different. And I know in Quebec, they like to do things their own way. And so I sort of thought about it. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. And you were so adamant. You're like, no, that's not for me. I do that. Do you remember feeling that way?
I remember very well at the time, the people that were sort of my competition were not charging, because in a sense, like the meet and greet sort of consultation was to sort of get the business, right? So it's like, you know, the clientele that I had before were like, well, why should I pay you? Like, I want to interview you and I want to see if, so what happened was, by sort of figuring out my ideal client and sort of striving for more than that, I realized that no, if I can charge, because these people do want all of the things that I want. Like, they understand that my time is valuable. And I think I was discounting myself a little bit. There is a sort of a cultural sort of way of doing business in Quebec that is a little bit different from elsewhere. People are more frugal over here, things like that. But it's about finding that clientele that will pay for your time and will make it worth your while. So that was a huge eye-opener. Like, I'm still not charging what like people in Toronto charge, or New York or Connecticut, like for a consultation. But like, for me, I'm happy that I'm getting like compensated for my time. And
yeah. And that, to me, I love that. When you came onto one of our designers room calls and you were like, guys, I charged for a consultation. And you're like, and I'm never not doing that again. And I thought, holy hallelujah, this is like a total milestone. Amazing.
Absolutely.
All right, Yazyth, why don't you share with us where you were at, you know, before you found Power Process? How many years were you in business? I mean, I know the story very well, but in case anyone hasn't heard your other episode, maybe just give us a little cliff notes on the beginning.
Yes. So before Pop, I had just started a partnership with a friend of mine who is a GC, and it was in 2020, and we decided to start our own build and design firm. We were together for a year before I realized the partnership was not working the way that I wanted it to. And I actually found that out was going through Pop. So I was also getting ads because I had found Rebecca's podcast when I was searching, how do I price my services? And Rebecca's the one who came up, and then two other courses too. But Rebecca's podcast, you just give away so much free information, and that I felt like if she gives this much free, I can't imagine what she gives once you pay. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pick Rebecca. Like, and just like hearing you're just so down to earth. And it's so funny because my daughter, she's in the car with me while I'm listening to your podcast, and now she has like this thing like, oh, is that your friend Rebecca? Hey.
I remember the first time you told me that your daughter will be like, hey, and it was very cute, but at the same time I thought, oh my gosh, I need to stop swearing and cussing on this show. No. People are listening with their kids in the car.
No, my daughter knows that she can say bad words with me, but not at school. I'm like,
oh, you're a good teacher,
Mom. But yeah, she has her own little thing. She's like, hey, it's Rebecca. Hey, she like moves her neck, and she's got this little sass. So I told her this morning, because I, got all dressed up, and she's like, well, oh my God, Mom, are you going to be famous? I'm like, well, I'm going to be on Rebecca Hayes' podcast. She's like, what? Oh, tell her I say, hey.
Oh, that's so cute. Tell her, hey, back.
Yeah. She's going to love hearing this in the car too. She's going to feel famous.
That's adorable.
Oh, Catalea. But yeah, so we started our business, and then I got your ads, and I said, okay, I'm going to take this course. And I told my business partner, we are running around in circles. We're not making money. We're not being profitable. We were saying yes to every single project, no matter how small it was. And we were just exhausted. We were working all the time, 24/7 on the weekends, and it was just bad. And so I told him, okay, I'm going to invest in this for our company. He agreed. And I took it, and then throughout the process, I started realizing, like, wait a minute, I don't think I want the company that we started. And the process that I was creating in Pop didn't align with his process, which is totally fine. He's still doing his own thing, but it just didn't jive together. And then that's when I had my big aha moment with my ideal client, which is Missy Elliott, which has now recently changed to Pink. Um, so
Love
it's
it,
a
love it,
combination
love
of
it.
Pink and Missy Elliott. And that just wasn't the client that my business partner at the time was going for. He's more of the grinding, let's get any projects possible. So we decided to split ways. We're still very good friends. And then I went off on my own, and it was super scary because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm alone. I can't blame anybody else. If something wrong happens, it's on me. But thanks to Pop, and then thanks to them getting into Designer's Room, it just started giving me the confidence to, I got this. It's okay. And it was nice because it's like a range of expertise also. It's like someone who just started to people who've been in for, 20 plus years in the design world. I started in design in 2010 when I graduated college. I do have a degree in interior design, but at that time we were getting paid $12 an hour. And I had massive amounts of student loans. I'm like, this isn't going to work out. So I went back to bartending, and I did corporate America and, bunch of other different things, which I'm glad I did, because I think that's why my sense of business, I have, I think outside of the box sometimes, because I've worked in so many different industries and so many different bosses that I know what works, what doesn't work. And I kind of mix everything together. And then Designer's Room and Pop was just kind of like the cherry on top that kind of packaged everything perfectly. So yeah, so that's where I was before Pop.
I love that. And I love that you share that. I mean, bartending, like for me, serving really teaches you so much about customer service, right? And I think
Absolutely.
that, and we talk about this in Designer's Room all the time and inside the course as well, but is that sometimes we don't value our life experiences and how much they bring to the table inside our design business, right? When we try to think about like what makes us unique and different than our competition, oftentimes it's things that we personally overlook, right? Like your experience in the service industry, like that in the hospitality industry, that gives you a leg up. And I've even seen designers, I don't know if you have this on your site, but I've seen designers like really highlight that our years of experience in hospitality are what, make us, this is, the wording was better on the site that I saw, but basically they're what make us really good at working with customers and of all shapes and sizes or whatever it is. So I think I love that you share that. I think that's a big part of your story. Yeah, $12 an hour. I mean, that it's hard to raise a family on that.
Exactly. I mean, now at least, minimum wage has gone up, so it's not 12, or even internships were unpaid. And that's another topic we talk about in Designer's Room. Like now internships are paid, which is nice. But yeah, the industry has changed so much, and I'm glad that I'm back in it. It's definitely more inviting, more collaborative, like things like this. It's big. Before, no one, I don't think another designer would invite another designer to their podcast. It would be like, oh, this is competition. And I like that it's more of a collaborative, like, how can I help you? How can you help me? And I think that's why the industry has just grown so much, and now more contractors are starting to respect us more and understand that we don't just pick out pretty pillows. There's a lot that we do, and we know a lot.
I love that. So true. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's just open up the conversation then. Thank you guys for giving us that sort of summary. It's super interesting how you both have very different experiences. Like Ariella, you were running your design business off and on for 10 years before you were like got really serious, it sounds like, of investing in your business development. And Yazyth, like you had only just started your business, right? So you sort of took it really seriously at different times in your careers. Not that you don't take it seriously when you start it, but we all come through, have certain moments where like, okay, I need to figure this shit out. Right. And that, I mean, I had that moment myself. What would you say? I mean, I guess I just want to hear from you guys. Like, how has your business changed in the past year or two or three since you've been in Designer's Room? Like, what are some of the more specific things that you have tweaked, and what caused you to tweak them and improve? We already talked about one example, which was Ariella's consultation, charging for the consultation, how that sounds like it's really elevated the clientele. You're attracting a different clientele, and that's what I talk about all the time. But what else? What else have you started to see make major waves?
So I created a how we work document. So I send that when people inquire about my services. So that's very helpful. It sort of gives an overview of like how you start, how do you start the process to work with us, like, the discovery call, the consultation. It outlines the design process. It gives some ideas of like fees for specific rooms, like kitchens, bathrooms. Obviously by proposal, we always, create a fixed fee based on the project, but it gives them an idea. So what happens is it sort of weeds out the people that are maybe not my ideal client. Someone who, like, the ideal client for me is somebody who's like a very busy professional, whether it's a family or a single person that really wants someone to take care of everything. And if they get that document, it excites them because they see, wow, this is service. This is, I'm not going to have to do anything. It's not overwhelming. The opposite of my ideal client is someone who's going to be like, oh, this is too much information. No, I just need help with like that kind of thing. Like, that's not my ideal client. So that was a big game changer, which I learned in POP. Obviously revamping my contract, starting to charge a fixed fee. It was a rocky beginning. I did a few projects where I tested the waters. I did a fixed fee for everything, even implementation. I marked down my hours and I realized this wasn't working. And so I started doing fixed fee for design and hourly for implementation, and I have become much more profitable. So that was, it's great that I was able to test it out and that, like, I know what works for me. So that was a huge thing for me. What else? Yeah, it's just, everything's different. There's just like a flow. There's a process. There's like, my workflow is better. And I'm making more money. And I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the projects I'm working on. I'm enjoying working with my clients. It's been wonderful. It's really, really been wonderful. And I've hired somebody who helps me on a freelance basis. And I'm able to delegate. And we've learned, we've had a lot of talks in our designers room about those kind of subjects. And like, all those nuggets help me sort of run my business in a more efficient way. I don't hear you.
Well, Rebecca, you're muted.
Sorry. I'd be curious to know, and I don't know if you've done this calculation, Ariella, and Yazyth, we can talk about this too, is what the difference is, even percentage wise, from what you were charging for project back then versus now. I just had a conversation with Jamie Kahn yesterday inside our meetups sort of group to talk about closing that group, and then, how powerful Designers Room has been. And she said that after taking POP and being in Designers Room for a few months, she modified, and taking the pricing course, but she modified her pricing so much that she, for the same type of project, was charging 500 times what she was charging before. 500 times.
Wow.
Right. So she obviously wasn't charging enough at the very beginning. But I'm just curious if you've ever done that, sort of cost comparison, like how much you were charging. I know for me, I tripled how much I would charge for, let's say, a kitchen renovation overnight when I changed my pricing model. I don't know, like, do you have anything that you could share with our listeners to kind of really paint that picture?
First, I haven't done that exercise of comparing before and after, but I do know, like, I remember almost every project is getting bigger and bigger, and every project the fees are like, whoa, like, it's astonishing, that, like, and it's going great, like, but you're encouraging me to do that. I think that would be a good goal.
I think you should do it. I think it, even like, just for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm like literally just pulled up the calculator to see what my hourly has changed.
I love that.
And it's gone up 3 times as much. So I was like Ariella, I didn't charge for my consultations because I was partnered up with a GC when we first started, and GCs don't charge. They just go to every consultation, and we were running ourselves ragged going to every single one. And I remember being so scared the first time I charged for my consultation. So sad. I charged $50 for the consultation. And I was like, oh my God, they're not going to pay. How am I going to, like, tell them, this is what you're getting? And now for 2024, my new consultation rate will be $497. So from 50 to 497, and then my hourly, I started at $50 an hour, and now in 2024 it'll be 155 an hour, which I'm still not charging what I should compared to the other designers here in Denver. Because I do have a degree, I should be charging at least $200 an hour, but baby steps, right?
But lady, like that, you've tripled, like your hourly rate, you've tripled your consultation fee. I mean, I don't know that math offhand.
I don't know that math either.
That's more than triple. I don't know, quadruple, 5 times more. Like that's amazing. So what gave you the confidence to substantially increase your pricing over such a short period of time?
You, Rebecca. You and the whole community. And because of that community, I also have like my a little group that we meet every Tuesday. We call it Power Talk Tuesdays, and it's 3 other alums. It's Shirley, Angela, and April, and we meet every Tuesday. And it's not like it's more like an accountability buddy system, because you had mentioned that in POP when I first took it, like, get yourself a buddy. And it was first me and Angela. And we just think the first time I took POP, I hardly got through it, to be honest, because I was getting out of my partnership with my business partner, and everything just kind of like hit the fan, and I was trying to figure that out. And then the second time around, Angela and I became accountability buddies. And then I was, okay, I'm on my own. I had no projects, so I had the time to do it. And I was so grateful that I did, because that's how I was able to do documents like Ariella said, the what to expect. I created my pitch deck that you, Rebecca, had mentioned, like you kind of have something similar. So then I created that, which has been a game changer in my consultations. I feel more like it calms me down almost, because you're like running around all over and talking to the client, and then it's like, okay, let's calm down and let me tell you about how I run things. And so that's nice. And my proposals, all that stuff, just kind of all fell into place. And then it's nice to have that accountability buddy. So we have our meetings in designers' rooms twice a month, but then my weekly, what I have with my other group is more like we give each other homework. And it's like, okay, you need to do this by next week. And it's not client based. It's more like your business. Like, okay, you said you were going to update your price on your documents. You need to have that done by next week. It's more like, and it just feels
love that
we're like co-workers, because, being an entrepreneur is so lonely. And it's just really nice to have someone to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I've cried to Angela before. Like all the things. And even like Ariella, her and I email each other sometimes, sending each other proposals. Like, what do you think about this? Is this too much? And it's been so nice to just have that community to feel comfortable to be like, okay, this is my price. This is what I'm thinking about doing. Am I overcharging? Am I undercharging? And it's just really cool, because everyone, since they've been through POP, we all kind of have not similar process, but we all understand the basics of it. And I don't have to sit there and be explaining to someone, well, phase 1 is this, phase 2, like they get it. And it's just really nice to have that community and that encouragement.
I love that. I love that you meet weekly. Like, that's a big time investment. I don't think I could even do that.
It's difficult. But now, like, I block that time off. It's an hour in the morning as soon as I drop off my daughter. It's really nice. But thanks to like you, Rebecca, that's why I started charging for my consultation. And I just love how you constantly tell people, like, you need to know your worth. Construction, project management, so it starts sinking into my head, like, you're right, I do know these things and other people don't, and I should be charging for my time. And no, this client can't do this by themselves. And it's that sheet that you have, you've shown it in designer's room, but you have it, I actually am taking your pricing with confidence right now, so I'm very excited about that. It's a sheet that you have that says, remind yourself. And it's all the little points, like, can your client do the drawings? Can your client pick that, all these things. And I printed it out and I have it on the side. So whenever I'm doubting myself, I'm like, they can't do this, I can. this is why you need to charge. So
I gotta find that document. I remember making that document. I gotta find
yeah,
that's a,
it's like
that is a great reminder.
one of the first slides on your pricing with confidence.
Oh, okay. So it's inside the, yeah.
It's
Okay.
in,
That's
yeah,
amazing. So true though. It's like we don't, I mean, it's this constant conversation that we have on the podcast, we have in our membership, but this idea that we still don't value our worth. We don't value the expertise we have. I mean, I find myself still guilty of that. Maybe less in my design business, but definitely in my coaching business, right? Like looking at others and like, oh, well, look at them. They've got it all figured out, or they're doing that thing. I mean, I even went to a dinner last night with some designer friends, and there's that like that sense of, oh, well, this person landed that job. Oh, wow, I wish I could get those. And it's like, but you still have so much value to give, but we're so quick to put ourselves down to ourselves. I'm not talking publicly, right? And not charge enough or discount. I mean, I used to be famous with my team. They would get mad at me. I'd be like, oh, I can't charge the client 5 hours for sourcing fabric. That seems like a lot of time, even though I probably spent 7 hours. Right. And so I would discount that time before I even sent the invoice, to which then the client would say, ooh, 3 hours. And so you're thinking I should have just left it at the 5, because then I could have brought it down to the 3 if I wanted to. I mean, now I don't negotiate pricing, but yeah, it's ingrained. I think, especially as women, it's a lot harder. And I do hope that this is changing for future generations. And, you know, when you have kids, as you guys do, it's like hoping that we can empower our little ones to stand up for themselves and to really value their worth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Deep thoughts. Deep thoughts, amazing. So where are you at right now? Tell me, like, you kind of talked a little bit about what type of projects are you doing and what is on the docket for 2024?
So I'm actually working on 2 great projects right now. My husband's a realtor. So he had 2 separate clients that bought their properties. And so one of them, I'm working on a complete remodel of the kitchen and decorating almost the entire home. So I actually have a presentation next week, so I'm getting ready for that. And then another home where it's going to be a 2-phase project, where we're going to be, first phase right now, we're working on adding a powder room, adding a principal bathroom, sort of rejigging the second floor, and renovating the basement. And then in the summer, we're going to be doing the kitchen, and it's going to be like a whole extension, and we're collaborating with an architect, which is great. So those have been keeping me quite busy. And then I have a bunch of other projects. I have one basement renovation that's sort of winding down, and then a few other like full decorating projects, and then a bunch in the pipeline, which is great. I actually have quite a bit in the pipeline and some proposals to send out next week. So things are looking great.
That's amazing. You're on fire. So many designers right now are like complaining that it's slow or they don't have projects, and look at you go.
I'm very fortunate. At the Christmas party that I was at yesterday, I was telling you, that was sort of the sentiment, that things have calmed down, and they're hoping it's just the holidays, and it may be that, but I'm very fortunate for sure.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yazyth, how about you?
Well, I'm not that busy. Awesome job, Ariella. But I am in a better spot than I was last year. Last year, it's like I finished my last project mid-December, and then I had nothing in the pipeline for Q1, and I was freaking out. And I remember thinking, that's it. That was my run with my business. I'm gonna have to close it. Like, good try. And I remember crying in designer's room, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so this year it's different. I've learned the hard way that, especially being a one-woman show, I have to take time to network. I have to take time to get out there, and I'm not spending money on advertisement yet, but I have teamed up with other trades, and we kind of help each other out. But thanks to all those networking events that I've been to, I actually have a pipeline now. So right now I'm just working. I just finished a dining room, and I've got a bathroom that I'm going to be starting in January and a mudroom area. But the difference is, like, just in the past 3 weeks, I think I've had 8 discovery calls. And
Wow.
I've been averaging like 2 consultations a month. When before I would have like 1 consultation every 3 months, you know? So I feel like I'm getting the word out there about my business, and people are starting to recognize my logo. I rebranded. So it's a lot of like legwork that I've had to do to get out there. So I've got projects that will line up in 2024. 2 bathrooms, the mud room, a basement bar area, and then I've got a consultation after this meeting for 2 bathrooms as well. And for me, my biggest win for 2024 is that I finally found a GC that I can 100% trust and not feel like I have to babysit. And I'm all about karma, and this might be woo-woo, but whatever you put out there, it comes back. If you help people, people will help you. And I felt like for a while there that I was helping like so many people. And then all of a sudden, it's like in one day, everything happened. This contractor called me and he's like, I don't think I want to work with this other designer anymore because they're not organized. And you are like literally the most organized person I've ever met in my life. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. He's like, your documents, your like the flow chart that Rebecca makes us make about our process. He's like, I give that to all my clients now. Like, this is how it should go. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. My construction binders, like I put everything in there, pictures, links. And he said that his crew really enjoyed working with me and that it felt easy. And it was funny because I felt like, oh, I guess he doesn't need me. He hasn't called me. And it's like, we haven't called you because you put everything in that binder and I don't need to ask you anything. So it made me feel really, really good that I'm like, okay, it's happening. I'm getting there. And he is in a area here in Denver. It's called Cherry Hills, and it's kind of like where Sierra lives. So I got super excited because I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting closer to Missy Elliott. It's happening. It's happening. Because Sierra's like best friends with Missy Elliott. And I'm like, I'm gonna be
I love
I'm
that.
coming for you, Missy. But yeah, so it just felt really good that I'm like, okay, my hard work is paying off. So all that time that I'm going to networking and doing all these things, I wasn't seeing like the return, and now I'm starting to see it. And I learned that you just got to keep pushing. You're not going to see the result right away, but if you keep going, you will. So I'm super excited for 2024. I finally have a website. I love my website. I mean, there's things I still need to tweak, but I feel more professional and more legit. And I know it's because of the community in pop and in designers room, because everyone kind of pushes each other. And that's how I created the website. The documents make you look more professional. Like it shows that you have it together and you're not just like winging it, it's a process.
Okay, let's just take a moment to celebrate. Like, you just jam-packed a whole bunch of wins into one like 2-minute blip. Like finding a contractor, because I know so many designers, especially a lot of people listening today, are like, oh my God, I wish, right? It doesn't happen necessarily overnight. Finding the right trades to partner with takes time. And what I admire about you, Yazyth, is you have been so intentional with everything you do. You're very intentional, and it is truly inspirational. Like, sometimes I think I'm like, yes, he would just push through on this situation. Like you do. And like, yeah, shit goes wrong, or, year, or you don't have projects coming. Like, we all go through those times at different parts in our journey. And how you just keep going with intention and finding a contractor. And I love how you being organized, like that's one of the other selling features of having systems in your business. Not only do you attract clients, but you can attract trade partners, and your working relationship can be so much smoother. I love that. I think we need you to come into Designers Room and do I'm going to do this thing this year, I think, where we can have members share how they've done something, sort of like how I did this training. And
Mhm.
if you would be open to it, maybe teaching on like how you set up your construction binder or something like that, to kind of like give back to the community and show them, and like, here's how it changed things. Like, wouldn't it be nice if the contractor wasn't calling you every day?
Yeah.
You want to be included to an extent, right? But we've
Right.
all had those contractors that it's like they're texting you, calling you at all hours of the day, and you're like, can you just, I sent you the thing, can you just look at the thing, right? So I'm
Exactly.
excited for you. The other thing that really came out of that I think is a lesson for everyone, and Ariella knows this because you've been in your business for over a decade, but is that success takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And you want to be intentional, as I just said, but you just need to keep pushing and don't give up. And I think that's the big lesson here is the people who make it through to the other side are the ones that just don't give up, or they pivot and tweak as needed, right?
Mhm.
But recognizing that one setback is not defining who you are as a human or your business. And obviously learn from our lessons and what could I tweak differently so I don't have the same outcome. But you have to keep
Right.
pushing through, because that is the only way that you're going to have a longer term sustainable business. And I love that you also are so great at sharing. Like you said, you were crying in designer's room, like you're sharing the real and the raw and the vulnerable. And I recently had a conversation with another designer's room member, and she was talking about that's what's so unique about a private community like ours, is that people feel that they can be vulnerable. It's not the same as a free Facebook group. You're not going to put it all out there. You're not going to be like, this is exactly what I charge, or, oh my God, I have no work, because there's a lot of fear of judgment. You don't know who's there. It's not the same thing. And so I think that is perfectly exemplified here in what you're talking about, and how you've used the group and the support of your other accountability pod to help, be your sounding board as you push through some of the harder times. Like,
Right.
the future is super bright. Missy Elliott, if you are listening, one of a kind design.
Yes. Well, it's also very important to have like a cheerleading team almost. And I feel like my team is designer's room, and then also like my husband and my daughter. Like both of them, I used to be like the coldest person ever. I grew up in Miami and we just don't show emotion. We're like, ugh, whatever. But ever since I had kids, I feel like I cry at the drop of a dime. It's so weird. But now it's like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. Or, oh, I'm so scared. Like this isn't gonna happen. And it's a nice to have the cheerleading group in designer's room, but also at home, and know that my husband has my back and he tells me all the time, like, stop it. You got this. Like you can keep going. And then, my kids too. And it's just, you got to make sure you have like your wolf pack, basically, like
Yeah.
in the hangover. And you guys are my wolf pack.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. Okay. Well, you guys have been amazing. Thank you for coming back on the podcast. If you could leave our listeners today with one last nugget of wisdom, you knew this was coming, and I forgot to prep you at the beginning, but I do this all the time. I never tell my guests until the end. It's on the spot. What would that be? Either it's something that we've already talked about or something we didn't even touch on. What would be that last nugget of wisdom?
This is going to be edited.
Radio silence. Doesn't have to be so profound.
Okay, the nugget of wisdom is go with your gut, because a lot of times you go on a call, a discovery call, or you go to a consultation, and you're pushing down these gut feelings because you need the work, you want to please. I have that problem. I'm the people pleaser, and you have to just be real with yourself and be like, is this someone that you want to be working with for 6 months, 8 months? Is this someone you're going to get along with? Do you think that they're like open to your ideas? Like you really need to listen to your gut, because what we do in residential design is very personal. You get into someone's home, into their personal space, you spend a lot of time with them, and you need to jive. So that's my nugget.
Lady, that's so good. That's been like my entire 2023 is like, okay, Rebecca, stop, focus. What is your instinct telling you? Like, how do we listen to that? Because I have been that person who took on the job when I'm walking through the consultation. I'm like, yeah, this is not the job for me. This is not the client. And then when I present the proposal, because back then I actually used to tell them what it would cost, like on the spot, pros and cons to that method. She was like, great. Who do I write the check out to? And I was like, oh shit. I guess I'm doing this. I mean, maybe she is a great client because she's like ready to pay. Like that's one of the things that we want clients who have no objection to price. But you know what? In the long term, I should have trusted my instincts. Yeah, so good. Wise words. Yazyth.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to add to that. Actually, it's okay to say no. It's okay to put your boundaries up, like have a boundary with your clients. And like, for instance, for me, and I actually learned this from both Rebecca and my ex-business partner. I have something in my contract that says these are my hours. If you want to contact me after business hours, I will charge time and a half. And I need you to send me an email with the subject line saying approved OT and overtime. And I can tell you that when you do, let's just say 100 times time and a half, that's 150. People who have, in quotation marks, emergencies are no longer emergencies. Having to figure out that tile on a Saturday night is no longer an emergency. So I think it's very important to make sure that you ask yourself, what is your goal and why you started your business? Like for me, I started my business so that I could be more time with my family, and be present for my children. And I cannot be present for my children if I'm working 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night on Saturdays doing consultations or anything like that. So I put that up, and I was very scared to do that at first, but I've actually gotten a lot of respect from other parents that I've had as clients, and they say that's very healthy that you do that. And nowadays, mental health is more accepted than it was back in the day, and people understand that. And you just be honest with yourself and say, no, I'm not going to work on the weekends. I am not going to work overtime. And if you go into that consultation and your stomach is telling you like this doesn't feel good, there's a reason for that. Like Ariella said, listen to your intuition, because next thing you know, 3 months down the line, that person is your worst nightmare.
Totally.
So listen to your gut.
And
I
to
love
add
that.
to that, so I think during the pandemic, I think in 2020, I think I turned off notifications on my phone, email notifications. So unless I'm at my computer, like doing work, then I know what my emails are. I am not getting any pop-ups on my phone, because I started to get like severe anxiety. And you feel like you get a message, like the way a text message comes in, that you need to answer it right away. And I might be making dinner, or I'm busy with my kids, or I'm playing, or and it would just set me off. And I don't look at work email on the weekend, because I don't want anything to set me off. I want to disconnect. If I look at it, it's because I have to do some work that, I have a deadline or whatever. But it's my choice. And so that is obviously why we want to be in business for ourselves, is to have that autonomy and to have that, work-life balance that, you don't usually get from working at a firm. So I highly recommend doing that.
So thank you for saying that, Ariella. I too do that. And I started that before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I turned off the push notifications on my Gmail app. I use Gmail and I use their app on my phone. And I turned, because the little red 1, 2, 3, and the number keeps going up would cause me anxiety, because I didn't have boundaries, which is what Yazyth is essentially talking about, is setting boundaries with your clients. I did not have them. And I was of this mindset of like, I need to please customers at all costs, right? Like customer service, customer's always right. And when I turned those off, it was like, holy heck, like all of a sudden my shoulders could relax. Now, would I obsessively check the app? Absolutely. But that was when I was thinking, and I would go in, as opposed to it, like you said, like you're making dinner for your family. Like
Right.
we need to have boundaries. And I can tell you that I've taken it a step further. It drives my husband mental, but I actually keep my phone on permanent silent mode. So I have an iPhone and there's this little thing on the side. I don't know if you can see it, where you can like toggle to turn all the notifications off. It is permanently on silent. It drives him crazy because he's trying to get a hold of me and I don't see the call. But it does flash when I get a phone call. That's it. Because otherwise, how can anyone focus? Our phones are beeping and buzzing and all day long. And I think I did that back in maybe 2020 or maybe 2019. And it's stayed that way. Now, if I'm expecting like TD Insurance to call me about my car insurance because my car's been banged up again, like I'll turn that on for like if I'm expecting something important, but otherwise, and I think it's been instrumental, and it's a silly little thing. So I'm so glad you brought that up. But for me, it's been instrumental in allowing me that space and freedom to work on my business, to focus, record a podcast, to do the things that before I was so reactionary. So thank you for bringing that up. Like both of you, amazing nuggets. Go with your gut. It's okay to say no, set those boundaries. It doesn't matter what stage you're at in your business too, whether you're just getting started or you're finding your footing or you're living the dream. This advice applies to you no matter what stage of business you're at. So thank you so much, guys. You're the best. I love you. I'm going to see you inside Designer's Room. Can you let everyone know where they can find and follow you?
So on Instagram, it's Arazi Design Studio. Well, at Arazi Design Studio. Yeah, and my website is the same, www.arazidesignstudio.com.
And Arazi is A-R-A-Z-I, right?
Exactly. Or Z if you're.
Or Z. Awesome.
And I am at One of a Kind ID, D as in dog. And my website is oneofakindid.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I'm sure we'll have you back to check in on how 2024 goes for you. But if anyone here loves these two ladies as much as I do, you're going to want to join us inside Designer's Room and just absorb all the knowledge and also share and give back and share what your experiences have been, because people listening may relate or they might have a different story to share. And I think it's what's so great about the community is we learn from each other. So Thank you guys for sharing.
Thank you for having us.
See you soon.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. What a great conversation. I especially love that bit at the end where both of them really essentially are saying, just go with your gut, trust your gut, and it's okay to say no, right? I think those are powerful reminders for all of us in all aspects of life, let's be honest. But I'm happy that Ariella shared the turning off her notifications on email, because that is something I realize I need to talk more about, because it's simple little tactics like that that can make a big difference in your day-to-day productivity, your day-to-day health and happiness and mental health. It's something that for me, I realize I don't talk about that a lot, but the keeping my phone on silent, it really allows me to focus on the task at hand and has really freed up so many hours in my day. I mean, it's insane. So I'm curious if anyone else has tried this tactic. Can you drop me a note on Instagram, send me a DM at Rebecca Hay Designs, or of course, join us inside Designer's Room and we can have a conversation about it. And maybe as a group, we can share other tactics that we do to help increase our productivity and our sanity, because let's face it, that's what it all comes down to. If you guys are interested in finding out more about Designer's Room, go to RebeccaHay.com/join. That's where you can find all the information. We would love to have you. For the first time ever, I have opened it up to the industry at large. So if you are a designer, regardless of the stage you are at in your business, whether you're just getting started or you're already landing your dream clients, we want to see you. We want you to come in, share your experiences, and then learn from each other. There's also incredible opportunities to hear from guest speakers. I personally go in and coach on certain topics, and we have a vault of over 100 hours, I want to say, of coaching calls and Q&A sessions that you can scroll and search and listen to at your leisure inside our portal. It's an incredible AI technology that we now have. So if you want to go back and listen to, you know, a time when we spoke about pricing your services, it's in there. I think you really, really love it. It is the place where everyone is going to be. Anyhow, that's where I'll be. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'll see you soon.